podcast of Locals in the Loop. So we're here with 8Ball Aitken. I want to start with where'd your name come from?
Well, lucky I haven't answered that one today. I'll give you the whole story really quickly. It was my nickname and it stuck. And then I changed it and it's my legal name. Often they hear it.
And it's like number 8.
Well, it's spelled, I perform under the number 8, but it's spelled
Legal.
E-I-G-H-T. Because legally, here's a funny bit of trivia, you can't name yourself after a number.
Sonny's having some breakfast.
Sonny knows all about performing because all he's ever known is going on tour with his mum and dad.
Oh,
How is that taking him along? Does he enjoy it?
Look, to be honest with you, we have a great time. We're a little music family, so it's just what we do. It's all we know. But we sometimes have to find the least drunk, non-smoker, non-doused in perfume grandma in whatever city or town in Australia and say, congratulations, you're babysitting while Jessie sings.
oh,
And how did you and Jessie meet?
We met at a gig up in Cairns because we're both originally from far north Queensland.
yes, my family's from Mossman.
Cool.
Mossman.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we used to swim at the gorge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so you perform together, or
We perform together and we also have our own bands.
yeah,
And our band's like a music family. It swells up to 8 people
yeah,
and back down to three guys sometimes when we're going on the road.
yep,
Just depends on which festival.
yeah. So you've got the Bronwyn Street Blues Volume 8 coming up at Norton Music Factory.
Come on, yeah. They booked 8Ball for Volume 8, but it's a big day of amazing local and touring blues rock acts. I've got to be honest, it's my favourite venue on the coast.
Wow, there
They
you
can
go.
make as much noise as they want.
And then you're going to have your full 8-piece band.
We're going to have the 5-piece band
Okay.
this one, and we have Darren Jack coming up. He's from down near Sydney, amazing virtuoso guitar player. Hemi, in my opinion, is the best kept secret in blues in Brisbane. He's from Chatham Islands, which is like 900 k's off the coast of New Zealand. He just writes the most incredible blues and soul songs.
Wow.
He looks like a big tough islander dude, but he'll make a grown man cry. And Dillian James is my brother. That's his band. He's a Hammond organ whiz. Him and I've been working on an album for about 4.5 years. It just hit number 1 in the Australian blues charts.
And so, are your parents musically talented? Have they introduced music to you, or did you and your brother find it on your own?
Well, finally, how long have you got? We're one of 12 kids.
Wow.
Everybody plays
Typical,
and
like,
sings.
Northern Queensland.
Yeah,
Huge.
and we have another brother who's 15, who's actually 16 now. He's quite a singer, and he's
Right.
he's a professional busker. His name's Benji Aitken.
Benji.
That's an advertisement for Benji
Yeah, there you
at the
go.
markets
Little
in
plug.
Riva. But yeah, so Dillian's a professional musician.
Yeah.
Everybody else plays and sings, but we're the ones that practice the most.
When did you start getting into music? What age?
I was 13 when I started playing guitar.
Wow.
And look, I just didn't put it down. We didn't have Facebook or anything back then, so we just got into the music and lived and breathed and practiced 10 hours a day. And we lived in an old tobacco shed, so we just made a lot of noise.
And how would you describe your sound?
The core of it is swamp blues rock.
Yeah.
And I made a soul album last year, so I'm always dabbling because being a producer, you just want to keep creating. And so
Because what is swamp blues?
swamp blues is a southern kind of music blues with a lot of space in it. It's very laid back because it's very hot down south.
Yeah, okay.
Originally from like Louisiana and Mississippi. People that hear it love it and they don't know why.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's art. It just keeps going
Yeah,
further.
exactly.
You add your little touch. I love lots of traditional music, and I want to be out there doing your thing, and you want to be current. And kind of like having a big band that makes a big funky noise is what pays our bills.
Yeah.
So you keep moving and you keep creating, and who knows what we're going to do in the future.
Do you ever like release songs and you think, oh, this is going to be a banger, but then some unsuspecting song gets more traction and you
Pretty
don't...
much every time.
Yeah.
I had a song years ago that became an underground line dancing hit in France.
No way.
And all these French ladies with cowboy gear on, and cowgirl gear I should say, doing line dancing with more hits than my official video. And you just hope that somehow you're getting your 3 cents royalties back for every play. I love Muscle Shoals recording studio and all the... Yeah, here we go. This is the trick. Sorry, guys. We just do it. Yummy. I love the roots of the blues and soul and Muscle Shoals music, like the southern music where jazz and country and rock and roll and all that collide.
Yeah.
Just all my favourite music's from the American.
And have
And I
you,
lived there for 9 years in Nashville and Austin, Texas. So when you work with American musicians and live there, it will change what you do. And if you're into blues, you kind of have to go there.
How would you compare like the American music culture to here?
Well, in America, it's a much different system of pay. You know, like there's a tip jar, and if you're good, that will be full
Yeah.
of money.
Well, it's even like waiting.
Whereas in
waitressing.
Australia, yeah, you know, like our music culture here is there's two different things.
Yeah.
There's pubs with kids with
Yeah.
loop pedals, and then there's original music
Yeah.
festivals and venues. And it's almost like two different things. They've been doing the same thing for 30 years, and they're
Yeah.
using the loop pedal because the venues won't pay for a band anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's
And then
tricky.
there's people fighting it out with original music,
Yeah.
trying to get a crowd, and so there's kind of like two different things. And I mean, everyone's got to make a living and
Yeah.
find a way, but America has they find a way to be very good at what they do. They don't have as many social services, and it actually breeds a culture of people doing things very well.
I also find in like Australia, it's a lot like we suffer with tall poppy syndrome. Maybe not
Yeah.
the music so much, but yeah, it's just America. They're all kind of supportive of each other, and here it's like tear each other down a lot.
Well, you have your friends, and in America it's fast paced. I definitely have
Yeah.
to slow it down, which
So
is
you're in the
nice.
Glass House Mountains now.
This is a good place to hide from the
Yeah.
world. And America's only a 22-hour plane flight to Nashville away. Drove through about 7 or 8 states, played in 4 of them, and 17 gigs almost in a row.
Wow.
So that was like my old life, just non-stop on the go. And that was pretty taxing, actually.
what would you say is your favourite part of being a musician? Is it the writing? Is it the touring? Is it the performing?
My favourite part, 100%, is the friends you make from playing music. Because as you get older, you have to, if you're going to stay a musician, you have to find a way to make your business work, and you've got to keep busy. And these days, you've got to juggle social media, and you've got to keep your van running and keep all in touch with everybody. And oh no, the venue's closing, we've got to find somewhere else. There's so much to juggle, especially with dad life too. However, you know, when you never get the same feeling from anything else as you do, like arm in arm with your best friends in the sunshine, like hitting you, just rocking out to your favourite music, and
Yeah.
that keeps me coming back day after day. Can't imagine life without music. People that play music understand how to get to level 1000 in terms of friendship so fast and so easy. Human connection is what I live for, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Do you still get like the adrenaline rush every time you perform?
I'm pretty relaxed, and it doesn't matter if I'm playing a little gig or a big one. I don't know. Like, things happen. We played a gig up at Agnes Water the other couple of months ago before an American run at the Blues Festival. It's like prime time, 9 o'clock Saturday night, and a big storm hits, and it just drenched my pedals and my clothes that I was going to wear. I just don't care anymore. I'll give everything I got and do the best I can, not worry about the details.
Imagine like seeing the impact that your music has on people would be such a satisfying feeling.
It's satisfying to make a difference in the world. And if you think, like, if your music can just do something positive in the world, make people feel good, give them some hope, you can do anything at all to be a positive light in the world, then I think that's a good day. And I mean, even the smallest little thing. And you never know what, you might give a little kid a guitar lesson backstage. They might be the next artist that when you're too old to play, you're watching somebody.
It's amazing seeing the impact that music just has on everyone all the time in events. You just forget all the crap, all the stress, and you go and you just like connect. So nice.
It really is a higher vibration, and people are meant to dance. They're meant to get like to an elevated state. It's great.
And so then, whatever took you to America in the first place?
I went to America because of my love for blues and roots music, and jazz and country and soul and folk music and all the music that America made. I just wanted to go and get amongst it.
You reckon, and it had a huge influence sort of on the way the music's evolved?
I think you have to kind of experience where it came from to really understand it and work with musicians. It's a whole nother level of language to speak in the studios in Nashville. And it's the way that American musicians play together. And it's the songwriting and the singing. And I just got to work with a lot of talented people and learnt a lot and challenged myself every day. It's not that we don't have amazing musicians in Australia, because we do. We have incredible music. It's just that there's 400 million American, and because of that market size, people are able to special.
And I think it always comes down to Australia, our history. Like, they've got such a rich history.
Yeah, we are a younger country. We do have incredible music here. Like Indigenous music in Australia is probably the most amazing thing that we could export. We do have bands like Teskey Brothers are touring America, selling Australian soul music back to the Americans.
Yeah.
That's great to watch. We do have amazing musicians killing it over there. The thing is, they did have to go there to expand their market and business. As long as they come and do a big Aussie tour, so we can still love them too.
Can I ask, what is one thing that has really challenged you throughout your career? What's been a big challenge or like a pivotal learning?
There's so many things. The challenges of the music business is just coping when things don't go well, and having the self-belief to try again and treat all your mistakes or things that went wrong as learning experiences, and keep turning up and never have a victim story. It's just a matter of wanting to do it enough and having enough, self-love in your watering can to just keep pouring it on and just turn up and forgive yourself and keep having a go. Because you will have challenging times. You're attempting to build any business from scratch, let alone one where you're standing in front of people with a guitar going, hey, like me, pay for a ticket to come and hear somebody that you don't know do something that you don't know if you're going to like. Talent is pretty much the cheapest thing in the music business because there is so much. But the next stage is developing talent to being a viable business and making talent like the best it can be.
Hustling.
Because if you don't get paid for your gig, how are you going to afford to make your next album? It's probably not from your Spotify royalties.
I know.
So it's like you got to advance through the stages and you got to keep focused. And I think it's pretty easy for musicians to drift off.
And I imagine it would be hard if people didn't like your music, instead of like taking that on as constructive criticism.
I think if you believe your best critics, then you should believe your worst critics. So it's like, how about a new concept? Don't believe any of them.
Yeah.
And just judge yourself. Have you improved? And what did you do right, and what did you do that you could do better? And that way you can actually measure and progress. Just record your gig, watch it back and go, oh my God, and should I have put on a better costume, or what could I have done better? So you can actually have the checks and balances.
Have you ever had stage fright and forgotten the lyrics?
I've forgotten lyrics, and Jesse will laugh about this. I forget lyrics all the time. I get it right sometimes. But I forgive myself.
Majority of the time, no one else knows. That's
yeah. People do come up and say, oh, you really screwed that one up. I'm like, well, yeah, I did have 2 hours sleep last night, whatever, so I don't care.
When I was dancing, I'd get on stage and just forget everything. I was like, uh-oh. Improv. But the only person I would know was my mum.
I started out as a busker. I remember playing in King's Cross, and this hooker came up to me and said, I've been standing here for 18 years, and would you mind moving up the road a bit? And I said, okay, no worries. And so I move up the road like 5 metres, and I'm strumming away, and actually it was working for her. It was attracting some people, and she got some customers, and she went away and came back again and brought me a Tawley. It's like, here you go, thanks for working with us, and here's your beer. And it's like, here we are, the people at the bottom on the street making a living. I figured out that if you can stop people in their tracks and pull their wallet out and give you some money, then you're doing something good, something compelling. Doesn't matter how good you are, but if you can have that connection with the audience where you can stop them, then you've actually got a start where you've got something to work with.
What's your songwriting process?
It's always different. I sometimes write the music or the melody or the words, or sometimes they just happen. But I've made, I think, 15 albums now, so and I produce lots of albums for other people.
Because how did your career start? So it was busking and then your gigs. How did you get into touring? Were you known, or were you just it was a way to get known?
Well, I started playing in bands when I was 15 years old, and I ended up playing in pubs, playing covers.
Yeah.
There was a venue called Jono's Blues Bar in Cairns, and they had touring blues acts for 25 years, and I got a gig there. Well, I won the Gong Show when I was 15, which was their talent contest.
The Gong Show.
The Gong Show. And Jono used to do a headstand and sing House of the Rising Sun upside down with his six-pack to impress the Japanese tourists. And then they'd bring on all the talent, and I was 15, I won it, and you were supposed to win a carton of beer. But then they said, hey, you're 15. And I was singing some B.B. King song, and they said, no, you can't have a carton of beer, you have to have a T-shirt. And I was really bummed because I really wanted the beers. But I ended up, busking and playing in bands, and by the time I was about 21 or so, I was touring. But I was just going up and down the coast between here and Cairns, and then I started going south. And by the time, I think I put my first album out in 2004, but it wasn't until my third album that I really got on the radio. That was a time before social media, and you had to go play every pub you could, and I could still play like almost every night of the week back then. But yeah, the money wasn't great.
You work with a label? Or
I've
independent?
had managers and labels, and yeah, that's been.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of different career things.
Are you with any of those now?
I have my own label. I've gone through all the labels and managers and stuff myself.
The thing that I found that in the music industry, it's like there's so much talent and then there's not a lot of money, obviously. There's too many hands getting involved, taking a piece of the pie. Like, guys, leave it for the talent, my God.
I think the big issue these days is ticketing fees. It's like, where are all these fees going to? And that takes a big chunk out of the money that an original band is making. And by the time you pay your GST, agent fees, and split it up. And yeah, that's definitely a challenge that modern musicians are facing.
Do you have any particular festivals that are your favourite?
I think, my secret to life and music is wherever you are, whichever country you're at, whichever festival you're at, that's your favourite while you're there. Being in the blues genre, Blues on Broadbeach and Agnes Blues and Gibby Muster, they're the ones that have a big stage that put on blues acts. They're all ones that, people that watch locals and the Loop can drive to.
I love the ones that are more out and they like bring people away.
Yeah, the location one. Real ones that add real value, or places where people can camp over. Pull in and stay there.
Yeah.
And stay put for a weekend and really settle in.
And then you meet so many new people doing that too. And it just makes the whole experience more special.
And can you tell us a little bit about your backyard gig?
We started the backyard gigs because we have like a natural sloping amphitheatre, and it was successful and the neighbours have never complained. We throw together bands. We have different themes or different artists that come as special guests.
Yeah.
So it's always different and it's always fun, and people that come here know they're going to hear music made right in front of them, and we don't have to wear shoes.
Yeah.
So we don't. That's what I love about it, is having young kids that are exposed to live bands, because there is coming a generation that don't know what a band is, and that to me is one of the saddest things. Like when musicians can only play by themselves. For musicians to be able to know what your band's going to do, you have to play together for a long time. And like, I grew up in an age where you're in the garage with no food, just like alcohol, and you're just like partying all weekend, but getting to know each other on a really deep musical level, so you could play and a whole bunch of guys or girls can move together. If we don't get kids playing in bands, then there will be no bands in 30 or 40 years. So, and I love nothing more than having our full 8-piece band. Everyone does their little role and the whole thing just moves forward. But even if I just stopped and just stood around and enjoyed it and listened, the whole thing would just keep going.
Yeah. Have you always been your 8, or have you chopped and changed a bit?
People come and go because my band members are sort of lifetime members. People usually last about 7 or 8 years and then they move to another country. I haven't changed over band members at a very rapid rate. It's pretty hard to keep 8 people employed.
Where do you practice?
Yeah. But to be honest, we kind of work on the album cycle. When I have a new album, we do a launch gig run, and we learn all those songs and we play them. And then usually 3 or 4 songs from each album stick around in the set list. So it's not like we have to practice every week. We don't always get a chance to nut it all out.
So like just get on stage with pretty much not much rehearsal?
Well, no rehearsal.
Who are your current band members?
So Nick Downing on drums. He's originally from London and then Sydney, and he married a lady in near Redcliffe. So he lives in Queensland. So we got an English drumming legend, and he basically runs the band for us if somebody's not pulling their weight.
Oh, really?
Nick knows. I usually don't have to say anything. On bass, we have Norman. We met him, my brother and I met him at a blues jam when he first immigrated from the Philippines. He's an amazing singer. He was in the band Power, the reggae band, for many years, New Zealand band. and he's an amazing bass player and singer. My brother Dillian James, he plays the Hammond organ and the keys and does all the stuff, and he's quite a good singer, but he doesn't actually have a microphone in our band, so he's got his hands full. And then there's myself, of course, on guitars and lead vocal. Jessie sings and does percussion, and we have Taya Chani, who also plays guitar and sings. She's like our sister from Sydney, and her and I have worked together on a lot of projects. We also have a percussionist that joins, and we have another guitar player as well. We've ended up with 8 people, but we don't even have saxophone in there. Yeah. So we might get bigger eventually. I just love venues that are set up for music. I think with the Aussie pub culture, it's like, oh yeah, set up under the Keno machine.
And the acoustics, it's
yeah,
terrible.
Yeah. Good start is to have a stage,
yeah.
a PA, some lights in the dance floor. We are so blessed with beautiful mountains and beaches and things. There's a lot of venues that go, oh well, look at our view, we'll just chuck a band over in the corner.
And then so you're building a studio here in the backyard.
I've got a little studio in the house.
Yep.
But Sonny's getting bigger and he needs a room, so I produce and record for a lot of people already.
Wow.
That's like my day job in
What's
the
your
midweek.
I
don't have a name or a label because I don't need one. I don't advertise. I get a lot of people coming to me that need some help, and making music should be fun and easy. I like to just sit in the garden with the songwriter and help them make whatever they do. Them.
Whatever they want to bring.
Because that to me is the most enjoyable part. It's like, let's bring this idea, your creative baby.
Yeah.
Let's just make it the best it can be and bring it to light. And maybe we'll go in some different directions, or we'll try things that'll either succeed or get rejected. If you can ever get to a stage where you can just, people know from the sound of what you're doing that it's you, then you've probably arrived. Even if they go, quick, turn it off.
Yeah.
That sounds like 8Ball.
Yeah.
What would be one of your biggest tips to an upcoming musician, to somebody who's just starting out, who may be struggling to persevere or would be coming across these first roadblocks? Just to practice their music instead of taking videos or photos of them practicing it. Just throw the phone away for a bit. I'll give you a tip. This is what I did in lockdown. Is I got control over my phone. So I'm not scrolling, I'm not doing any looking at it, I'm just going, I'm going to write a song every morning before I turn my phone on. And that gave me a practical thing I could do. And I've shared that ever since, because some days I'd write 3 songs before.
Yeah.
And I was getting sent co-writes and songs to write for people. I was getting, in lockdown, I was making a living by doing studio work because I didn't have any gigs. I'm going to ignore the phone. I'll turn it on in business hours. So mornings and evenings are for you, for your creative time and family time and friend time.
I think that's really important doing, because it's now with the phones and the phone being your business and having that break into your whole life all day, every day. It's like you're still working and you can't log off.
That's the best way I can explain it.
I need to do that.
It's pretty helpful. The best thing you can do is go to gigs and meet people. You might be a very attractive young person and you might have 100,000 people following you online, but would 3 of them come out to a gig?
Yeah.
If you're in the music business, it has to be the music first. Just allocate the right amount of time for each of the things you need to do, and then make sure you have a little bit of time left for yourself just to relax as well. And make sure you're networking, because people that you're meeting now, it might take 5 or 10 years for them to give you a gig.
Yeah.
When they need you.
And you said you did, was it 220 shows in a year?
I did that consistently for over a decade in a row.
Holy.
Yeah, I just set it going and did not stop.
That's so impressive.
How did you first get into touring? Was there a pivotal moment when your music really took off?
In the Brisbane blues scene, they got to a point in about early mid 2000s, and there just wasn't any gigs. It went from a time in the 90s, like there was a blues band at a lot of pubs. There were so many gigs on. And it was around about the time Coles and Woolworths were buying all the pubs, and they were ripping all the stages out and putting in pokies, which has since been reversed, a lot of it. And there was no gigs for me in Brisbane, so I just started going up and down the coast. So I just started making a poster going, it's a tour, hoping that someone would care. It's definitely a tougher time to sell tickets than it was a little while ago, and everybody's saying, yeah, you've got to get out there and have a go. Other things to tell young musicians: get some reliable equipment. You need a guitar, and a backup one, or a keyboard and a backup that's not going to break. You need a phone and a computer that's not going to let you down. You need a good attitude. You need some friends, through your networks. If you want to get out there on the road, nothing's stopping you. Maybe there's a bunch of friends that you can invite to come and play out on your friend's mum's cousin's property, and you can call it a little fest and you can get all the people out there, and that's a good start. You just got to be entrepreneurial. The phone ain't going to ring if you're not doing
that's true.
something.
Backyard gigs and mini-fests are taken off at the moment.
It's spreading crowds thin.
Yeah.
But it's a good time for small to medium gigs.
I prefer that. I don't like the festivals with so many people.
It is a bit funny going when you go to some of those things after having the backyard gigs again, and we were like, oh wow, this is not as nice as our little backyard with 100 people.
Yeah.
What was one of your highlights from the tour?
My highlights was seeing all my friends, but definitely the Duke Joint Festival in Clarksdale is so legit. Like, that's a little town, little Mississippi, where they still grow cotton. They really come out of what seems like nowhere. But playing down in Florida with my band down there, I have an American band that I pick up, and seeing all the people that basically I didn't know if I'd ever see again. Getting in the studio and just getting there and working hard. I left my family back in Australia so I could just go fast and hit everything that I could. So that's what that one was about. May 25. And it's at Norton Music Factory. It starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Put together with David Dean Events.
Yeah.
There's a barcode to scan and get a ticket. Hemi, Darren, Jack Trio, Dillian James Band, Jesse Lynch Band, and 8Ball Aitken Band. We're the headliner on last.